Welcome to Utah Stories. If you know this program, you know we've had a lot of people on the program with very rough, tough backgrounds. A lot of the folks we had on who were with the Other Side Academy were living in and out of homelessness, were living with drug-addicted parents, had overcome these incredibly difficult situations, but none of them have been able to write a book about their life. And most of them, I thought, gosh, you should put this down in words, write a book about it, which makes me very happy to have you on, Celeste, because
Thank
you
you.
actually wrote a book.
I did write a book.
And
It's not for everyone, for sure, to write a book. But
yeah, you have one of these extremely difficult backgrounds and a very, very difficult childhood. You overcame incredible adversity, and I'm really proud of you for writing about it, because I think these stories need to get out, because you start to understand. It's very hard to understand the world of, for example, being a foster kid, unless you've lived it.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, could you tell me about how your early childhood went and how you found yourself in the foster care system?
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
It's it was a crazy journey for sure. I didn't know until writing the book that I was actually raised by an uncle and aunt till I was about 18. And then
You mean 18 months?
18 months. That's a good idea. That's a good idea to clarify that. Yeah, at 18 months, my biological mother had gotten pregnant for the second time. And that's when they decided, let's move away from family and try to figure this out on our own. And that's kind of when everything got rocked for me. From the age of 2 through the age of 7, by the time I was officially taken from the home. So I would go in and out, live with family members, maybe live with a foster family, then go back, and then just keep going through that process. And sometimes my brother stayed with us, but sometimes not, because people wanted to take him. He was so little. But it was always me and my sister. And for me, childhood was about parenting. It was a time when I learned by the age of 5 that you put the stool up to the stove, you make the mac and cheese. If it's on a good day from the food bank that day, you maybe got bacon or hot dogs and you cut that into it. That was a gourmet meal. And then homework, walk my sister to school, come home, more homework, bathe her. And I didn't know another way. And so by the time we were officially taken away, my father had been arrested and put in jail, and we had officially been removed from my parents. I would like to say that life for me was better, but life for me became harder. It became, I would literally have my brother and sister taken away.
Could we pause and back up just a little bit? So while you are making mac and cheese, cutting up the hot dogs and bacon, where are your parents? What are they doing?
So my father was in and out of drug rehabilitation centers, sometimes in jail, and my mother slept on the couch. Well, that's what I thought she was doing. I thought she slept all the time. Now I know it's a hangover. But at the time, she slept on the couch. So she wouldn't know when it was school time, or know when it was dinner time, or know when it was bath time.
Was she just alcoholic or also drugs? Or
both, yeah.
Both.
And so she would be up in the night, through the night, drugs, men in the home, late nights, while my sister and I would be sleeping. And then she would sleep during the day. I would take care of my younger sister, and then we just start the process over. And I just didn't recognize that. I knew enough to know she wasn't doing her job, but I also knew enough to know that I would need to do it for my sister. And it really gave me an odd sense of belonging and purpose. What it didn't do was help me recognize that I also needed that. But at the time, I didn't know. I just became very parentified and became the mother. And so by the time I was 7, we had been put into drug rehabilitation centers. That was significantly worse.
And you went with your mom to
Yeah,
the
so
rehab
there are facilities where children can go with the mother. Those were very, very bad moves for us as siblings. We were put with many children that had the same issues, and you weren't even allowed to see mom until she reached a certain level in the program. So we basically managed ourselves. Well, that's not going to go well. You can't have little children all the way to age 18 boys or just before 18, before they become an adult, and not expect there to be a lot of wrong things that are going to happen in those facilities.
Oh, yeah.
So we had those experiences. I shifted to, I moved every 6 months till I was 16. I lived in about 32, 33 cities.
Wow.
And
your mom was just going around all these cities?
Yeah. And she was with me till I was about, we tried the drug rehabilitation moving thing till I was 5 to about 7. And the state said, no more.
Were your grandparents not in the picture at all?
My family was in the picture, and when I reconnected, basically, they still to this day, if I see my biological family, they want to spend a ton of time telling me how sorry they are, and that they didn't take us and help.
So your aunt raised you till you were 18 months.
Yeah.
Was she wanting to take?
Yes, I found
time?
out she had already had a handful of kids herself, and she wasn't going to be capable of taking 3 more. And so she basically asked my biological father, can I take Celeste? And then, we can keep connection with her siblings, but she's the one that we helped raise and we know her. And she said, I only ask one stipulation, and that is that you don't have any involvement in how we do that. I need you to let us have that. And he said, I can't do it.
Boy.
It was his sister. And he said, I won't be able to take
It was your
myself out.
biological father's sister.
Yeah.
And he just said,
Yeah.
I can't keep my hands
He said, I
out
can't
of it.
promise you that I won't be able to do that. And she said, then there's no way that'll work in our family dynamics.
Which I understand her point of view.
Yeah. Like that.
You
If you're
can't
going
just barge in.
you can't be out and in
Mm-hmm.
and then have us be responsible for everything else.
Yeah.
It's just, we have to be able to parent her, and we have to be able to parent her the way we parent our children.
So was your biological father part of your life at all?
No.
Early
So
childhood?
we had he was in and out up until that point. And when he was sober and he was around, I was a daddy's girl, and it was awesome. I was much closer to him than my mom. My mom and I always fought kind of about who was in charge. So there's always contention between us, where my father was just playtime when he was around, and he was awesome. And then until he wasn't.
Gosh, that dynamic of you and your mother fighting over who's in charge.
I mean, I kind of had the
makes a lot of
hands
sense.
on hips. Like, this is what we do.
You were passed out. I was making mac and cheese every
I'm
night.
feeding her. I'm
feeding
taking her to school. I don't
yeah.
understand. And then she would, be sober and pop up like, okay, this is what we do. And I'm like, I don't know how you just intervene at the most convenient of times.
Mm-hmm.
And then my job is wrong. And by that point, I also only knew how to be a mom. I didn't even know how to be a child. I wasn't going to play with other kids or do what kids would do, go out and find something to do. It was just about my sister.
Yeah.
So I didn't even appropriately know how to distinguish that.
I'll share with whoever's listening that, we took on 3 kids from the foster care system, and they had been traumatized their whole life, really.
Yeah.
And the oldest was just exactly like you. He was in charge. And like, why would you violate my parental authority?
Yep.
I'm only 6, but I'm in charge of these 2.
That's right.
And he would just always be like, no, here's what you need to do with Riley. Here's how you calm him down. Here's what you do with Abby. And it was like, he had completely assumed that role.
Yep.
And just like you
Wrong
said,
or right.
He was not really acting like a child. He was acting like a parent.
And the challenge is that you obviously don't have the appropriate skill set.
Yeah.
To make
and you're making bad decisions. Making a lot of bad choices.
You think your decisions are maybe better than what happened to you, but you also are not mentally capable. Your brain's not developed enough, and nobody's taught you how to make healthy decisions, and nor should you.
Yeah.
But yet enough to know that something has to be managed.
Yeah.
And that you've done the best you can with what you know. So It's super complicated, but when they're removed from you, so what had happened is I had moved from Salt Lake. Then my mother, my biological mother, said, me and you and your siblings are going to Detroit, Michigan to be in another same program, but another state. I have no idea why. So we all moved there. And then,
Interesting.
yeah,
So from Salt Lake to Detroit.
yeah,
Just like,
I
oh,
wouldn't
we're
know.
doing
I don't
this.
know why, but we were just told that's where we're going. Okay, great. And I don't know if that at the time they had the mother child program more established, but that's the one I went to with all the teenagers and honestly learned to fight, like
I'd imagine that,
literally, yeah.
I'm sure
Fight.
it was brutal.
Oh yeah, I have stories in my book about holding Barbie dolls and beating a girl to near death because I knew she was going to go after my sister, and that was the red flag.
I don't want to get too graphic,
Yeah.
but was there sexual stuff going on too?
Oh yeah,
between
it
the
was.
kids?
And you know, the hardest part for me about learning just in terms of physical or sexual violence in any way is, again, as a child, you're just managing through what you think to be right. And so the physical or the sexual assault parts are very confusing because you're not equipped to understand what's right and wrong. So the challenge I had years later in like trying to shuffle through memories and figure out why I still had complicated thoughts and all the things that come with trauma was that I chose to be in every situation I was in. I chose to fight. I chose to use my body and protect my sister in sexual abuse situations. I put myself absolutely in harm's way. So knowing that I chose that and moving through my life knowing I made the choice, it was hard to recognize that I was abused, if that makes sense, because I chose to be in those situations. I may have only been 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
But I chose because I was protecting somebody.
And you weren't looking at it at all like you're some kind of victim.
No.
Or that your life is
I'm like,
terrible.
look at me taking charge. Look at me making deals. Look at me making some stuff happen so that my sister is safe. Yeah, I'm not going to go get an adult's
The interesting
help.
thing is the foster kids, they're not in a woe is me, oh poor me, feel sorry for me.
Most of them are not.
They're mostly in a fight or flight.
Yes.
Like they're very reactive to what is happening right now.
And reactive is the very best word because it's that fight or flight, and never being able to calm your nervous system down just allows one negative decision after the other. Yeah. Without making the connection that I'm making one negative decision after the other.
And to switch gears a little bit, I mean, I learned that going through all this training we went through trying to deal with the complications of the kids, the one who struggled the most, they described it like a train that's trying to enter the station that has no brakes when he would try to calm down because he couldn't calm himself down.
Is this your middle one?
Yeah. He just wasn't equipped to like self-placate or feel like I'm okay, the situation's okay. Very often things would escalate. Yep. And it was just like the train has come to the station, but it's not going to take the brake. It's going to accelerate, and things are going to get more chaotic. And that disorder primarily comes from a infant not being held, not learning how to self-regulate. Yes. And you told me earlier you actually received that as an infant.
I did.
And your siblings did not. Yeah. And so talk a little bit about the difference in that.
You know, I think about your middle child, and the people will make jokes about the middle child syndrome thing, but that's real because there's not a defined role for them. They're not the youngest and everyone's protecting them. They're not the oldest being the protector. They're the ones often waiting around for someone to hear or see them. And so they choose two paths. They choose either the loud path, or they chose, like my sister, the quiet path of being unseen. And still to this day, I'm blessed. She now lives with me. That's newer, and it's awesome. And we get a lot of healing now as adults in this space. But I've always been the assertive sister, and she's the passive quiet system.
Knows exactly the dynamic between those
Yeah.
two boys. Yeah.
So neither one of us had high functioning skills to regulate ourselves. We just went to different places. I went to protector mode. Still would do that today. She will be quiet and not be seen. Still would do that today. And so even in our own dynamic, she has to learn to raise her voice. I have to learn to quiet mine, literally. And then we find common ground. And that's just, so I think about him and like I know he's still young, and the lifelong learning that takes to learn to first regulate yourself, bring your own nervous system down, and then learn what choice and consequence means and how you can have control over that. And that's a process. And I think about kids in foster care with multiple movements, because you'd asked me the question offline, how it feels. It feels chaotic and unstable, would put it mildly, because if you go into a home and they do a really good job at teaching you all those things, you will slowly start to regulate. Your trust issues won't calm down because you're just waiting to be kicked out. But you'll start to regulate, and only time and consistency manages these things. So then if, like me, 6 months later, you're just put somewhere else. Well, what if that home has awful skills doing that? Now you can't even implement and practice what you were taught that was right because the home you're in doesn't receive it. Then 6 months later, what if you get moved into, I don't know, a super hyper religious home, and the parents aren't really in charge. There's a church in charge that's telling everything. Then you're confused again. So there's just that's the biggest challenge to me about foster care and needing to be moved all the time, because you're disrupting your placement. You're creating problems for that family.
Exactly.
Understandably so, because everywhere you go, you're going to go again.
Yeah.
And B, you're going to have a brand new environment. So there's just never consistency.
The system, the way it's set up, never made any sense to me, because we went into it thinking we're going to adopt. The first kids we get, we're going to adopt.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? We don't want to be professional foster care. We don't want to shuffle the kids along. I mean, we were just like,
we want foster to adopt.
Yeah, adopt. Yeah. That's it. And so we clung to that idea, and perhaps my brain was a little too rigid. My wife, in retrospect, was like, we should have just immediately said, we cannot handle these kids. They're way beyond our capabilities. They're way beyond our skill level. We're getting not enough training fast enough to deal with the issues. The issues are compounding and getting worse. She was right. I mean, but I had this idea, let's take these kids. They're cute, they're smart, they're capable, they're wonderful when they're not beating the shit out of each other. And really, that's really what it was. It was like 3% of the time they're beating the shit out of each other. 97% of the time we were having fun in the mountains. We were playing games.
A good time's a good time, and then it's not.
But the 3% of the time, kids getting kicked out of school, kids doing something horrible to another kid. Parents are ganging up to get my kid kicked out of school. Getting kicked out of daycare centers, getting kicked out of karate class.
And the problem is that 3% will feel like 90% in the moment.
So that
because
starts
it'll occupy that much time.
more and more and more of, even though we're having fun, we have the most incredible pictures of it being in Moab, smiles on our faces with the dogs, happy. But then that 3% starts to absorb all the oxygen in the room.
And usually the 3% is when other people are involved. So they're not seeing that 97% that was awesome. They're seeing the 3% that is, what the heck's going on in that house? So there's a skewed view. It's like by the time you invite, the caseworker or the legal side to the problem, there's a problem for them.
And
then
the
problem has to be managed.
Solve the problem.
And the kids get left kind of by the wayside. If they're too young, they don't really have a whole lot of say either. There's not going to be a lot of weight put on the opinion. There's going to be some, but there's not going to be a lot, especially under the age of 9. It's going to be, those are little kid behaviors. You spend lots of time with them, and you learn to know maybe some are little kid behaviors, but they might also be this child's way that they manage the behavior that's really uniquely different from someone else his age or her age. So it is It's super complicated. The system by itself, because people will ask me all the time if I think it's broken. I get asked that all the time. Do you just think it's broken? And my answer is no, it's complicated. And the only reason why I say it's not broken is because the people that are in it, and you're talking from somebody that I feel like the system failed me 100%.
Yeah.
There was nothing good that happened for me out of the system.
Yeah.
But today, or any of the quote unquote nonprofit partners that helped and supported me, and it's no coincidence today that with the work I do with the Christmas box, the state and every one of those partners that failed me are community partners we support today. And the reason is because what I recognized way later as an adult is that there were gaps not filled. Obviously, I wouldn't
Service gaps?
Yes, service gaps
services you weren't
and
receiving?
resources that now as an adult I can identify and say, how can we help with that? And start to help kids that are in a system today by filling gaps. That doesn't help the fact that I was in it.
Yeah.
And-
so describe
yeah.
Christmas box. How did that come about?
So,
How did you get involved?
Our founder, Richard Paul Evans, wrote a little green book called The Christmas Box, hence the name. And, when he started writing that book, it was just a little expression of love for his two daughters at the time. He wasn't going to be an author. He was an advertising guy. And he just handed out, he said, about 10 copies for Christmas gifts. He started getting random calls from people that read them. It ended up being over 100. He was like, wow, I've kind of come into something. Maybe I should try to publish. Long story short, he was rejected. Nobody wants a self-published book. Then it hits the New York Times bestseller list as at the time only the second book in history next to the Celestine Prophecy
I did not know
to
that.
hit that list.
As a self-published book?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then everybody wanted a book.
Golly.
So I started off as his personal assistant almost 31 years ago.
Wow.
I know, I'm really dating myself now. Just to help him navigate this new world of being an author and going on tour and closing his advertising company down. So we start on this path. And interestingly enough, during the time that he and his wife received this ridiculously large amount of money for him to basically, for that book and to write 2 more. So it's like, now you're an author. Hope that works out for you. And they decide, wow, we want to give some money back, but we don't really know the best way to do it. The book is based on the loss of a child through death. So we knew we wanted it to be child-centric. So we invited the University of Utah Graduate School of Social Work on board and 160 child advocates. And we literally asked, what's the single best thing we can do for Utah's children? And at the time, we have all this money to dump into a problem, and Utah is one of many states being sued by the National Center for Youth Law out of California for the mistreatment of children. We had kids dying in the foster care system.
Wow, really?
So when I say we went from being one of the worst states in the nation to actually one of the best, we really have. We really have made tremendous improvements.
I did not know
which
that.
is crazy to think because people know there's still a lot of challenges. And so that's why I know it's not broken, because there's people in it that as high as you can go that I know that are constantly in it, trying to work with the federal challenges and the mandates that they're given on what they're required to do versus the policy that they can create to try to make those federal regulations work that are just different state by state. Then work with the community based on the resources the community has. And that's why I say it's complicated.
Yeah.
Because then families that just are like, this is a no-brainer. All we're trying to do, like you said, is adopt. And they're like, well, we kind of have this plan of how it's supposed to look by law, but we also recognize keeping those siblings together is important. But you might be thinking, yeah, but that's not really working. And it's so convoluted and clunky.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets caught in the middle.
I'm sure people who got the kids quickly adopted would agree with you. It's just complicated. But we got through it. But when your kids are the problems are compounding. More and more experts are getting on board to try to solve the problem. The problem's only getting worse.
Yes.
What we witnessed, it was
It's a
absolutely
breakdown.
broken.
Yeah.
The system was
I bet.
broken.
I bet.
And the only advocates we had at the end, when we had to fight to keep the kids, were our guardian ad litem, number one, incredible
They're
woman
great.
who understood
Yeah.
us. And then the CASA, she was absolutely
Yep.
incredible.
Yep.
She had seen the kids a lot. She'd seen them with us.
Yep.
Wonderful ladies. And then our therapist. She
Yep.
knew we were so dedicated to these kids.
Yep.
And the only reason we were able to keep them, because we had those 3 advocates, because the state absolutely seemed hell-bent to destroy the kids.
Which is why those systems have been put in place.
I guess so.
They did not exist when I
Because
was
those
in the
3, if
Yeah.
had it not been for them, these kids would be separated and shuffled through family after family after
Yeah.
family. And my heart goes out to anybody who's a foster parent.
Yeah.
But most foster parents aren't going to keep the kids. They're not going to adopt. They're going to say, stay with my family for 6 months, then you move on. And they just end up not getting adopted. And then we see our homeless situation in downtown. A lot of these kids came through foster care. A lot of them just were not able to form meaningful connections with other human beings because they
Yes.
never understood what a
Yes.
meaningful connection looks like.
Well, and to your point of the foster care families, even if they do want to adopt them, they don't just get to make that decision on their own,
No.
right?
No.
So there's another layer of complication. Parental rights,
Yeah. And that's usually a
yeah,
factor
those
that they all
can
have to deal with.
extend for years.
Yeah.
And then a foster parent might need to move on
I
in order
sometimes
to
forget
really
that.
adopt.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
parent in our situation, both parents were out of the picture completely.
Correct.
But most of the time,
Yep.
there's parents involved in.
So the
that.
reason my parents, I know that, is because my parents had so many chances.
Mhm.
And then, people were basically babysitting us while they were trying to figure it out.
Thinking about it.
And then we'd go back and live with them, and they would be doing, feasibly their best to be drug free and figure it out. And then it wouldn't work again, and my dad would go into jail, and we would be divvied up again. And then the court would kind of say, okay, get another chance. And eventually they said no more chances. But there's statutes in that. There's law that states how long and how hard the state has to try. So those systems that ended up ultimately coming in to help you were designed and put into place to help with this very complex system.
Mhm.
So I still always believe there's always bad players in every game. It's just the way the world works.
That's a good way to put it.
There just are. You're gonna have
we ran into a few bad players, and
you're
it's
gonna have bad therapists
totally screwed
or
our life.
unfortunately not a great caseworker or not a great foster family, and I had all those. I just maybe some of us just we're unlucky. I don't know.
Mhm.
But the bottom underlying issue most often is not the people. It's the way that system is designed.
Yeah.
And children aren't designed to be raised by a system. That's the
Yeah.
problem. They are designed to be raised by a healthy community and a family. So when we take them out of any chance of that happening, even if there was dysfunction there, but then we put them into this clunky system, it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's chaos.
And when you look at it from the kid's point of view, it's like a tug of war.
Yeah.
You love your mom on one end.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to maybe love this person, but you're supposed to call her mom now. And it's like, come on, this is too hard on a kid.
Yeah.
Who are you going to choose?
Yeah.
Drug addicted mom
Yes.
or new mom who's
Yes.
got her shit together, but does
Yep.
she really love you? I mean, is she going to be there for you? Yeah, of course that's impossible for a kid
Yeah,
to
and
decide.
I think it's unfortunate when we go so black and white. And so first of all, a child never wants to hear, it's never beneficial for them to be told a parent doesn't love them. There's no world in which
and I think even the drug addict parents love their
they
kids.
do.
They just can't.
They love the way they know how.
They just can't function.
That's right.
In a regular.
And sometimes we
setting.
try to make them feel like they're removed and saved from this awful environment, even though we're not going to promise them anything better, by the way. And they're pulled out, And the messages of that, like you have no right to still feel and manage the feelings you're feeling because now you're trying to fit into this new environment. There's a gap there. So I think for me, the biggest challenge with kids is in this system is that they're not taught and allowed the process to grieve properly.
Mm-hmm.
And grief carries a lot of hurt and often a lot of anger.
Mm-hmm.
So when you leave a home, even if that home was not healthy, there's a grief process still there. You're leaving anything behind that you knew, regardless of what that looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And a loss is a loss. It doesn't matter how you look at it.
Yeah,
A
that's
loss
a great point.
is a loss. And so to recognize we believe your parents, based on their capability and what they knew and what resources they had, maybe not have done the best they can, but I feel confident to say they love and care about you, and they would very much like to see you succeed now.
Yeah.
And you may have conflict with that because the parents are behaving badly as if they don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you explain that? Usually there's mental health and drugs involved there.
Yeah.
That's complicated already.
It's actually why I got into covering homelessness. I wanted to understand the addict's brain.
Yes.
Because I had a feeling, of course, they're bio mom. How could you not love these kids we had? I mean, they're wonderful kids.
Yes.
But the drug takes over.
Yeah.
The drug becomes
the
number
drug
one.
Is more
Everything
important.
is secondary to
That's
the
right.
drug. And I think a lot of our homeless resource centers, a lot of the systems in place that want to shower compassion on everybody don't understand. No, that drug is in charge.
That's right.
Number one has got to be detox.
Yes.
We can't let somebody using drugs stay in a park, stay in a free house, stay in a free apartment.
Yeah.
The drugs have to go away before anything meaningful can happen. And so, I went down the homeless rabbit hole just because of these kids and wanting to understand. But what I also understand is when drug addicts have kids, those kids are born essentially with a addicted brain, a brain that's addicted to instant gratification.
Yes.
And that's another big challenge. You want to talk about that a little more?
Yeah. So for me, all three of me and my siblings were born addicted to something. I was the first child, so I think my mom was trying to feasibly do a good job, and I still have a lot of challenges with it today, but it was minor in comparison to my sister, who then there was more use, and then my brother, by the time he was born, he almost died, and my sister and I have memories of sneaking into the hospital room where the incubators were, to see him before he died, and his little body was just, his lungs were collapsing, and he was taking just these big gasps of air to try to breathe. They couldn't put diaper or clothes or anything on him, so he was just this little skeleton in there, and they were intravenously feeding him, and we were getting kicked out because we wanted to see him, and he became a full-blown alcoholic. And I will never discount choice and why choice matters, because there's a lot of play.
And personal accountability.
Yes, there's a lot of play in there. But I also do not diminish addiction with the brain. And here's why. My brother was 2. He was barely around my dad at all, even until that age. He was adopted at the age of 2. And he, of all three of us, from the way he looks to the way he talks, to his alcohol of choice by brand, to his behaviors, is a walking replica of my father.
No kidding.
My sister and I have
even the alcohol of choice.
Yes.
Huh. That is crazy.
And
Did he know what your dad liked preferred?
No, he didn't even meet him till he was older. Like I was 20 and my brother's 7 years younger than me. So he didn't even meet him till he was 14.
Yeah.
13. So his addictions definitely play into that, and my sister's and mine. You mentioned that inability to need gratification quickly. I have a lot of challenges in my life which have led me to extremely toxic relationships, really unhealthy decisions. I can make enough positive decisions that keep my life moving forward, but and mine are less noticeable. I'm not an alcoholic. I haven't had children taken away. I haven't had children incarcerated. So from that perspective, I'm going to look wildly successful right out of the gate, especially considering what I went through.
Yeah.
But I always remind people, one, you don't live with me. Like, you don't know the crazy going on up in here. And therefore too, you don't know my challenges that still exist today.
I laugh at that because a lot of people thought we were some kind of saints for taking on you don't live with us.
You don't live with us.
We're not saints.
You don't
we
know our own
shit
screaming and the stuff that we regret like everybody else does. It's just that there's the get up, the show up, the still keep functioning side of some people that you always see. And what happens is when you're in those environments, you do start to learn the skill sets to do that. When you're not in those environments and the addiction is taking over you, you stay in the unhealthy patterns. I am very aware I could be an addict very easily. Therefore, I've always tried to maintain a level of how much usage of anything I'm going to take, and I'm also super fortunate to have a reaction to any major painkiller. So when I go in to have a surgery, there's going to be no painkillers for Celeste except a Tylenol or ibuprofen. It's as hard as you can imagine to get through those environments, but it's probably a blessing.
Interesting.
It was probably a gift for me that I can't have something.
No opioid at all for you.
So if I come out of a surgery, so I've obviously been put under in some capacity, but then when I'm brought out, I can't have no morphine, no oxycodone, nothing that's going to relieve.
Are you allergic to it or what?
I will have I'm not allergic, but I will have a reaction. I will shake. I will be freezing. Morphine, I'll throw up. So they say I'm not allergic to it. I just have such a severe reaction. And if I'm socially somewhere having a drink, there's nothing that could be mixed with that in any way, shape, or form. They tell you not to do it anyway, but if I'm taking any antibiotic or anything, all of my levels increase as if somebody.
Have you ever had a problem with alcohol or any other drug?
When I was 15 and I dropped out of high school, I drank the equivalent of, what did I measure? 7.5 cups of vodka a night.
Holy cow.
At the age of 15.
Wow.
And I would pass out at places I had no business being at.
This is when you were still with your mother?
This is when, I had been adopted by my first family at the age of 9. So I was adopted. Very abusive mother. Chose to bring me into the home as a Christmas gift to my sister that could no longer have children. My mom could no longer have children. And it was very abusive. And I ran away when I was 15 and just slept on the school bleachers and whoever would let me live with them. And dropped out of high school, eventually dropped out of high school, drank, landed at places that probably should have been abandoned. They were so bad.
Was this in Salt Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then I ended up living with a family that kind of helped for a while create a level of stability for me. And then I moved to Arizona, moved in with a family. Somehow these families would find me. They weren't even foster care. They were just people that would take me in because I'd already been adopted. And this family in Arizona, the mother made me get back into school, kind of start to turn my life around. She was an amazing human.
She just took you in and
just took me in and said, you're going to be great. And then like everybody else, after about 6 months, their real problems in their family surfaced and I would be the one that couldn't stay. Moved back to Utah, ended up moving in with the woman who my book is dedicated to. Her name is Carly. I say she didn't birth me, but she definitely gave me life. And the joke was I came for Thanksgiving dinner and never left because it was about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So this is my favorite holiday coming up.
Oh, nice.
And about 9 years in, I toasted the family and said, I've never been with a family this long. I just want to say thank you. I was 26 at the time. And she literally jumps out of her seat and shares a story that her biological children didn't know, which is that she lost a child. And she said, I was always supposed to have a baby girl. and you're her. Let's adopt you. And I was like, what? I'm 26. It's okay. I call you mom. My kids call you grandma. And she said, no, Celeste, I think this is going to be really important for you. And I was naive and just thought we'd go change our birth certificate. Apparently you can't do that. So we got an attorney, went before a judge, made it official. And spoiler alert, that's basically how this book ends, is me being readopted for a second time by a family that I chose. And that chose me. And her motto is that home is where they have to keep you. You don't throw out anybody in your home because they make a decision you don't agree with. Home's where they have to keep you. So
home is where they have to keep you.
Yep. It's kind of our little family joke. Like, and you know, for my mom, that also includes animals, which is a whole other podcast. So
yeah, we just talked about that in the last one. Horses and dogs.
Horses and dogs.
But yeah, that's amazing. So she had a specific void in her life, in her heart, that
yes.
she saw you and she's like, I got other kids, but this is the kid I never had.
And every year just became an anniversary. You know, 1 year became 2 to 3 to 4. She ended up quitting her job when we all decided to have children so that she could take our kids and we didn't have to put them in daycare. So my children have amazing memories of basically being pseudo raised by my mom.
Wow.
And so the Thanksgiving just became every Thanksgiving was an anniversary. And then when I realized, wow, this is more than an anniversary. I think this is my home, but I don't really know what that looks like. And she's the one that got me back enrolled in school in Utah, told me the only deal breaker of living with me at the time was you have to get your, in more colorful words, butt back into school. That's a deal breaker. And was the champion for me for the first time in my life of that one human that insisted I was as good as anybody else to do anything that I wanted to do, which was an opposite message of anything I was ever told. I was told you're lucky if anybody will ever want you. Nobody wants older kids. Nobody wants to adopt older kids. Statistically, if a child does reach the age of 4, their chances of adoption drop 50%. It really is that difficult.
Wow.
I mean, most people understandably would like a baby with no big challenges and, you know. So the Christmas box house for me, after we formed that organization to solve a problem in the state, which was to quit transitioning children so quickly when they were removed. So they can come to the Christmas box house first if there isn't a family member that has stepped up to take them right away.
Yeah.
And the goal is, the beauty of our shelters is that the child all the way through age 18 can stay with us. It isn't, most shelters are only licensed through the age of 12. So that means all kiddos over the age of 12 have to go into like a group home or another family member they can find, and they're broken up. So we can keep all the siblings together. We keep about 1,000 together per year.
Wow.
Just with that alone. And then our hope is that they do get placed together and ultimately they can be adopted together. I think unfortunately that didn't land awesome for you. And your story.
Our kids were in the Christmas box house on, I think, a few different occasions. Mom was basically dealing with her partner. They never got married, but the boys and our girl biological father ODing on drugs. She was putting them there when she couldn't handle them, which was a great resource. And I think they were there when they had to then enter the foster care system.
Yep.
And we only know that from trying to piece their life story back together from before we had them, which is really hard to do. But yeah, Dad had died. She had them all 3. They were on and off the streets. Just she was still using. Didn't have much family support at all. And you need to have that family support structure if you got 3 little kids. And I feel for her. I feel for the bio mom. And I don't know where she is today. I did know where she was 3 years ago. But it's like you got to be rooting for both the kids and the bio parents,
Yes.
even if they
Yes.
got on the wrong path.
Yes.
If you're not doing
Yes.
that, then, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Of course she loves these kids.
Yeah.
Of course you have that still somewhere in your heart, even if the drugs have taken over.
Yes.
And I really love the idea of Christmas box because what else is there? Like these kind of sterile, group homes, like you said, or shelters, like you can dump a bunch of kids in a shelter all alone.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's just, you need a place like that.
Yeah. You need a place that the alumni that come back and talk to us say it was like having the adults were uncles and aunts that we had lost, and the kids were just cousins that we hadn't seen for a long time. They all come back with kind of those analogies of that became a family concept, which is why if a child does go into a placement and let's say they do have a disruption, which is what the state would call that, there is a place that they're familiar with that they can go back to. It's not a long-term plan. It's an emergency shelter, but it is designed as a common place they can come back to.
Is the Ronald McDonald House something kind of similar?
The Ronald McDonald House, great program, is a when families have cancer, I believe, and the family and
I didn't know
they can stay
happened.
together while those services are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ours
parental. If kids stay at the Christmas Box House, parental rights have been removed at least temporarily while those transitions are happening. They are already in state custody.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. And so our nonprofit partnership is that while the state is responsible for the day-to-day programming and the shelter and the oversight, we work with the community to bring the essential items. Like right now, we're in the middle of our Project Elf campaign. That's our holiday campaign to provide 3,000 children with Christmas. And that's solely our role, is to fill those gaps in the system. The state's just, they're not going to get the funding for it. They're not allowed to even solicit for that kind of level of support from the community. A lot of people probably would push back even working with them directly that way. So we come in and fill those essential gaps that those kids are going to need anyway. Because when they're removed, typically all they have with or on them is all they're going to have. There's rarely an opportunity for them to go back and pack that bag or, get the things that they forgot and got left behind. They're usually very tough circumstances, late or middle of the night. Police officer, caseworkers has intervention, and they just need to get them out of there.
So are these kids then all bunked together? Siblings are in a room together, or how does the arrangements work?
The parameter of the where the kids stay, there's a window for every bedroom intentionally, so it's very lit, and then they get their own bed, their own nightstand, so they have their own rooms, especially because many of these kiddos haven't been vetted for all their issues that they have, and so for safety reasons,
so every kid has his own room.
Every child has his own bedroom. When there's exceptions
I think
to
that's
that,
actually really smart.
it's very it has to be that way. There's just too many risks. You will occasionally have a caseworker or a therapist that have been involved in a child's life that can say it is safe, and that little sibling is used to being with the older one, and that vetting process has happened. But most often they're going to be in their own room because there's just too much not even known yet.
Well, and it's like I told you before we started, should I say all this? I think I can say it because it's been 3 years. They took our middle child and said, oh, he's got to be in this behavior program. It's the greatest thing ever. It's like kids who have really extreme behaviors, we're going to put them in it. It used to be in a home, like a big home. They moved it to a very clinical, what seemed like to me, just like a elaborate hospital. So a nice, warm, friendly home environment to a hospital. What does that tell a kid? You're not home anymore. You're not in a cozy like bedroom type setting.
Yeah. Did he stay there?
There's something wrong with you. He was there with a bunch of other kids who also had really severe.
And he stayed overnight?
No, he didn't stay overnight. Okay. We got to pick him up every day, but it was like a school. We were dropping him off every morning, picking him up, and it was absolutely horrible. Honestly, I'm like, he's learning how to use the F word. he didn't know how to use that word. Now he knows how to use it. Now he knows to fight better. He's fighting a bunch of kids now. All these kids are reacting on each other. I just was like, what the hell? And it's because they got the funding to get a giant building instead of an old big home. And then the old formulas didn't apply anymore. And it's like, I believe a lot of these workers have the very best of intentions.
Yes.
I'm not blaming them, but then things are complicated, and
very complicated.
When you put a bunch of kids together in come from really tough situations, and they're all reacting, you just don't want to make things worse, right?
Yeah.
That should be step number one.
Well, and typically I don't know what program it was, but typically there's enough staff to child ratio that's managed. So yeah, that's.
And he got kicked out of there eventually. Wow. It was like he realized this is a horrible environment. I'd much rather be at school where I had a teacher who was my friend. These ladies who kept constantly telling me what to do. And so anyway, it was like a downward type spiral. He's doing great now. Just everybody, I'm not going to say his name, but in case anybody recognizes who I'm talking about, he's doing very well, and he's a very athletic kid. Unfortunately, we couldn't adopt him, but we adopted the two siblings. And I've regretted, I had such a bond with him. It's been very, very difficult. But so have you been acquainted with more kids and situations and families who've had kids in foster care and kind of know the difficulties there and what they've done to improve it?
Yeah, and it's incredible to speak with foster families today that despite all these complications, they push through, they work through it, they stay with the system, they believe in helping the kids even despite the challenges they're up against with rules and regulations. The interesting thing about
your story. Well, go ahead.
I can't imagine some of the struggles that foster families have. Not only do they take children that are really struggling how to even fit into that environment, so they're dealing with that. They're dealing with some behavior issues being brought into their home. Then they have a lot of red tape they always have to fight through. So they're quite the contrary belief of people talking about them just doing it for the money. There's in no way they're paid enough. Now, again, you're going to have bad players in every system. So I know they're out there, and I also stayed with some. So I'm aware. However, most families that I meet are not that. They're just the genuine people that are trying very hard to show up every day for these kids, doing the very best they can in this extremely complicated system. And that's the same way I feel about caseworkers in our state system. Again, I'm sure there's bad players out there. I had them myself, but not the ones that I meet and work with today that are they're aware of the challenges. They do everything in their power on a day-to-day basis to make the best decisions they can with their own limitations.
Yeah.
And then partner with other organizations that have their own rules and their limitations. And that's why I say it's a complicated, clunky system, because it really is.
Yeah.
The saddest
caseworker thing, we could talk about that a whole podcast.
Yeah, I never even met one of mine until one bad day that she decided I should. It would be an amazing thing if we all met at the courthouse on the same day, had our adoption on the same day. So mind you, I had been told when I went to Detroit, Michigan, my biological mom came into my space one day and asked or said, your brother and sister are being sent to Utah and you and I are going to New York. I'm like, okay, why would we do that? Well, because we have relationship challenges. We did, obviously. And we're going to go work on those. Why New York? I don't really know, but I was only
this is your foster mom telling you this? Or?
This is my biological mom.
Oh.
In New York. And I come back. So my mom and I go to New York. My brother and sister are sent to Salt Lake. They're adopted. So I never got to say goodbye to them. By the time my mom circled back and said, by the way, what really happened is that your brother and sister were sent to Salt Lake to be adopted. And now you're going to be sent to be adopted into a different family. So we have to put you in foster care. So I'm setting up this other part of the story. So I hadn't seen them for at least a year and a half. Didn't think I'd ever get to see him again, say goodbye. So that's why when I say they were taken from me, they really were taken from me. And then we're at the courtroom. It's adoption day, and the caseworker, whom I'd only seen one time, shows up and says, you and your brother and sister get to have your adoption day be on the same day. Well, we're all thinking that meant we were going to be adopted together. And I'm like, oh, finally, you guys have seen the light. Oh my gosh, we're all going to be adopted together. My brother and sister, I see them for the first time after all that time. They're running down the hall in their cute little best dresses and suit. My little brother runs up hugging me, and he looks up and says, where you been, sissy? And I said, honey, I didn't mean to leave you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And my sister, and we're all crying, and we're thinking it's a reunification. And I look up at the caseworker looking at me like, she's looking at me like, oh my gosh, I just made the biggest mistake. They were literally just going to adopt us on the same day into different families.
Oh my
so it was like
gosh.
we said hello, and then we said goodbye, all in a split second.
That's crazy.
And they were taken away. So I'm very aware there are just bad decisions made.
Was that the most devastating day of your life?
It was, and you wouldn't think if you read my book that it would be, because there was just so much crap that had happened and so much hurt. But again, my purpose was so driven in taking care of my sister that I didn't view it as that. My loss was losing them. And so, I mean, the feeling of your heart literally breaking with heartbreak is so real in those moments. It was like, it was just coming out of my chest. It hurt so bad. And I really didn't think again I would be able to see him. And they thought I was just leaving them.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
That's horrible.
They didn't think I was, and I didn't know that until years later when my brother and I were at a Halloween party. So we're adults, fast forward a long time. And there's, of course, drinking involved, and he's upset. And he comes walking up to me, looks at me square in the face, so angry, and says, you left us. And I was like, Tom, what are you talking about? So I had two children. So I was in my late 20s, if not 30.
What's the age difference between you and him?
7 years.
Okay.
So I would have been at least almost 30. And he said, when we were kids, you left us. And I said, Tom, I didn't leave you. You were taken away. I didn't have a choice at the age of 7 to decide if I would like to keep you or not. You have to know that, right? And I realized, like, I looked at him and realized his anger and his hurt was stemming from that. He thought I abandoned him.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh, we got to work through this. Like
And he was what age by that time?
So he would have been I was probably 29.
He just hadn't figured that out in his brain.
He just hadn't made the true connection that logically that wasn't a thing. But he hurt so bad, and when he drank and that hurt becomes that apparent, that's your reality. And your reality is you left me. I'm like, oh, so much is making sense now. So even though I've had all these bad players in my life, I still know in my heart today when I meet and work with the amazing people I work with, it's not true to be the normal.
Yeah.
There are kids and families that get caught in really crappy situations. They just do. Yeah. And there's nothing okay about it, and there's no logic to support it. Mm-hmm. But overall, I do think we have beautiful people doing great things for kids. I just do.
Yeah.
Because I see it every day.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like you.
Well,
you stayed in it. You still adopted.
We adopted
against
two
all
out
odds,
of three, and we've done our best.
People telling you shouldn't have, and all the things, and you still did too.
We're lucky because our kids are extremely bright, and our daughter is extremely bright. She's getting straight A's right now in school, and her brother was getting straight A's, and she was getting straight F's last year. Not straight F's, but I'd say C's and D's. But the big challenge there was we were in public schools, and they were wanting to say she's special needs when she was using that label to manipulate the system.
Yeah.
And giving an excuse to leave the classroom constantly and do whatever she felt like.
Yep.
And the public school's like, yes, she was a foster kid. She was traumatized. Yes. Let's give her that excuse. Yeah. Let's write her IEP up so she can just leave anytime she wants. And I'm like, no, she's super bright. Yeah. She can read really well.
This is not the problem.
Let's not do the IEP like that. Okay. Yeah. And I was like hitting a brick wall every time I'd say that. Let's not do the IEP until we finally
Let's not go with what looks like to be the easiest solution today, which is going to create the longest term problem.
Yeah. So she'll just become more and more having a bigger and bigger crutch to carry around saying, I'm traumatized, disabled. No, you're not. I mean, you are. Everybody is traumatized to a degree.
Yep.
But now she's getting straight A's. And I want to say, Granite School District, for all your good intentions, you're not serving high need kids.
This box that we're putting everybody in is not the solution.
No. Yeah. And then the foster care worker getting involved, and then the school psychiatrist getting involved, and everybody having their fingers in the pot of case Abby. Let's all figure out the best. No. Like a Zoom call with 20 people on it is not going to solve the problems of one kid. Yeah. I think one good teacher being in charge. Yeah. I just have to state that because that's been proven to work with the model that the charter school she's at now is working.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you just can't overcomplicate these situations.
Yeah.
And everybody, I think, of course, has the intention. They want to see kids thrive and succeed.
Right.
And but
that's why the box system doesn't work.
No, and
we know it doesn't work in education. We know it doesn't work in child welfare. We know it doesn't work in most systems at all. Mm-hmm. And why charter schools even evolved in the first place was to give parents better choices. My family and friends teased me so much because I put all three of my children in 3 different schools, had an hour and a half commute morning and night when they grew up, because I was like, there's not a school that just fits their personality that matches.
Yeah.
They're unique people.
Yeah, they have different needs.
And the deal is they could help be involved in choosing their school if they kept their grades up. And we sticked with that model, and I'll take them anywhere. There wasn't one school. How old are your kids? Now my oldest son is 30. My middle child is 26, and my youngest is 20.
God, you do not look old enough to have a 30-year-old.
I have a 6-year-old grandson. I know. Is that crazy?
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Trust me. Every time I see him, I'm like, wow, this is happening. This is it.
Well, that's awesome. Sounds like you've had an incredibly tough childhood, and I hope the takeaway is for anybody watching this, if they've had a tough childhood, or if any kid coming into your home has had a tough childhood, there is hope, absolutely, and you're living proof of that.
And those kids need to know that it is the biggest thing happening in their life today, but it will not define and be the biggest thing that happens in their life throughout their life unless they let that happen.
I think you're right.
There is a point that comes in their life when they will start to realize that their choices will start to define them, and it can't have as much to do with what has already happened as where they want to go, where they want that path to go. And they will, I promise, have more of those choices and opportunities as their life goes on and as they get bigger. But the little decisions we make now to, when you're old enough to recognize I am acting out, is those consequences will make it harder.
That's exactly what I'm trying to communicate to my daughter.
Yeah.
Because she still loves working the manipulation system.
Yeah.
She's so good at it.
And
she loves doing it.
It only helps you for so long. There becomes a day where that really backfires. And then it all of a sudden limits those choices that you have. Mm-hmm. And I remember always telling my kids, you get to choose all your choices, but you will not pick your consequence.
That's a good way to put it.
That is very rare. Someone says, would you like consequence A or B? Usually that's just defined for you. And whether that's a home rule, or that's the juvenile detention system, or that's the adult penitentiary, or that's a job, that consequence rarely belongs to you, but that choice usually is all yours. And there's power in that.
I got a parenting question.
Yeah.
So I use this on my daughter. It seems to actually have helped, but was this the right choice? I don't know. I really don't know.
We don't know because we all didn't get the handbook.
She loves animals. We talked about this. She loves horses. She loves dogs. She wants to be a veterinarian. We have a veterinarian friend, and she's kind of like, yeah, Abby, be a vet like me. I've told my daughter, if you want to be a veterinarian, you have to get those A's and you have to control your behavior. She's been making a lot of bad choices recently and getting what are called card moves. And I said, if you keep these card moves up, rather than be the veterinarian, you're going to be the kid who comes in and volunteers to clean up the poop of the dogs and the cats. That's going to be your job. And so, yeah, you're going to be the janitor. So what do you want to be, the vet or the poop cleaner? And I used that on her because you're seriously not going to have that choice to be the vet if you continue down that path. And it seems to have actually made a difference. But was that a good decision?
Well, how old is she?
She's 8.
I mean, at 8, it's probably an analogy that they can get their head around. I don't know long term I would buy into it, but I think when they're 8, you use what you can because you're trying to do anything to motivate them. And it's so hard. And so you use analogies.
It's really hard because she every day she'd be getting a card move. And then her teacher would explain to me, she just pushed a kid in line and then she was playing with a kid's hat and then she smacked him with it. And just like 2 different stories about how she's just misbehaving. And I think she kind of gets a kick out of it. Because she just wants to see how the adults are going to react and the kids around her are going to react. Yeah. But she's not understanding the consequence. Yeah. Because I don't want to punish her really when she comes home. Right. So anyway.
Well, I remember. So with me, I always told my kids, if you kind of know from a book smart perspective the ability that everybody is, and we're not all on the same page. So I couldn't say all 3 of you need to get A's when I knew it was more complicated for some of them. So I would say, if based on what I already know about you, which is a lot because I've been your mom a long time, if you're an A kiddo, then I would expect the A's. Mm-hmm. If you're a B kiddo, if that's been your average, then that is your A, and that's great. And if you were a C kiddo, then I could have that conversation logically that I've known all these years. I watch how hard you work. And C is the best you get because I was a C kid. Mm-hmm. So I get it.
She learned how to read in preschool. She
probably wasn't a C kid.
No.
So, and I would say case in point to my son, when you have a report card 1 quarter and it's all A's and B's, and then you get a C, but then the next quarter that C oddly became an A, but then another one of the A's became a D, that the average isn't right. Mm-hmm. It's where your time is going, and that's how I know you're not a C or a D or an F kid. Mm-hmm. It isn't that my expectation is that you're only awesome with the A's. It's what type of kiddo are you based on what you're capable of.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I would take something from him as you have to earn this back. Like the PlayStation at that time was a big deal.
Screen time is definitely the motivator.
Oh my gosh, it was a miracle that C or D became an A or B again. Here you go. Here's the PlayStation.
Do you believe in this idea, this soft bigotry of low expectations? Have you heard that statement before?
I've not heard that statement.
So, okay, so everybody kind of would tell us, oh, but you got the kids out of the foster care system. You got to lower your expectations of them.
Oh, I hate that.
You can't expect a lot out of them.
Yes.
And it would be like, sorry, I know when a kid is bright.
Yeah.
I know when a kid picks up on something fast.
And you're not you're not benefiting them at all by doing that.
Yeah, because if I was treating them like they're dumb kids.
Yes.
What service is that doing for them, really? Like, I do have my expectations high because I think that's what parents do. And
your expectations are what you're capable of, not what life has dealt you. What life has dealt you won't change by the way, because you don't won't change what you should do in your day-to-day life, because you don't know what life's going to deal you in your 20s. then your 30s, then your 40s, your ability to adapt.
Great. I'm so glad to hear you say
Like
that.
no, I actually think it's a failure. We do that on kids. When I was growing up, that was the biggest mistake, is that if somebody found out, a teacher, even if that I was in foster care, I would literally get told, "Oh, you know what? You don't have to turn that in. We heard what happened, and nobody expects you to have to do that work." Instead of, I know things are really, really hard, but I know you're as capable as anybody in this classroom. As a matter of fact, that foster kid label is kind of a superpower, because here's what happens. You can look at everything that's happening to you, like the moving from place to place. Is it awful? Yes. What it also teaches you on a positive note is how to read the room. That's a superpower. If you can pay attention and learn to read the room and learn to read your environment, the way that's going to benefit you long term is much bigger than, oh, this really sucks. I get moved from place to place. I moved every 6 months, lived in 32, 33 cities by the time I was 16. I have a massive appreciation for world travel. I mean, people I haven't met are just friends I don't know yet. I think that most people are the best to be around, and the only difference between you and I is we don't know each other's stories yet. That's the only difference between us, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I get to make that choice that all these things happened and my life sucks and I'm not ever capable of being an executive director or a good mom or just doing the best I can. Or do I get to be in that 1% that they define foster kids will rarely get in? Or do I stay on the 99% of all of them that are just not going to succeed or be anything? And what does this success even look like? Who gets to define that?
Yeah.
Maybe the foster child that ends up being the janitor or being the mom or being the whatever. Maybe, and they're not a burden on anybody else.
No,
and they're,
yeah.
you know what I mean? They're living their best
If
life.
she were just the
That's
janitor,
right.
you could be the best janitor.
But she wants to be the vet.
clinic.
That means
Yeah.
she can be the vet, and here's the path to get you to be the vet. And I'm just here to help you get on that path. She might just also be in very stubborn phase. My youngest daughter, if she knew, how sad is this, that I was supporting an idea she wanted to do, she oddly no longer wanted to do it. She'd say, I want to play soccer. And I'm like, oh, I'll totally be a coach. Like, I'm in. Put me in, coach. Oh, you know what? Soccer just sounds lame all of a sudden. And she did that with every decision until I finally realized I had to just have hey, that sounds cool. I mean, if that's what you want, let me know how I can support you. Then she would rock it and go all in. But she was just that personality of my three, that she was determined it should be her idea.
Yeah.
And so it was more about spending time helping her buy into her own idea as opposed to think it was my idea. And parenting's a lot of bandwidth. We're just all doing the best we can, because nobody hands you that handbook that says how to be the best parent.
Yeah, you never know. You never.
When they're
you
also
always, like,
they're just all
don't know
different people.
What to do? Yeah,
they're uniquely different people.
Yeah, they sure are. Boy,
right?
The three kids are so.
And even
so
if they're
different.
in the same home and they're raised the same, so I'll be like, man, that's crazy that all three of my kids who were raised by the same mom are hardly anything alike. I mean, that's kind of crazy. It's not like they were raised dramatically different.
Yeah.
And they're dramatically different people.
Yeah. It's almost like you realize the kid comes out of the box and that's what you got.
Yeah.
It's not like you can change the kid. The kid knows what the kid wants. You can guide them and direct them, but you can't change them.
And the hardest part, I think, of parenting is recognizing that it is their path. Now, when they're 8, you're still very much guiding that path. But ultimately, it is their path.
Yeah.
Through and through. And all we're doing is being their biggest champions and cheerleaders.
It is
our
theirs.
Path.
It's their life to live. I do say that a lot.
Yeah, it's your life to live. And here are your 2 options right now. How about you choose? Which option right now? Do you want to wear the red or the blue shirt? It's not an option for you not to wear the shirt. So red or blue?
Yeah.
Jeans or a skirt today?
Yeah.
Give them an option.
Janitor or veterinarian?
Yeah. Janitor
both are fine. I'll support
both fine,
you either way.
But I'm pretty sure you want to be the vet. So I'm really excited to help get you there.
Yeah. It's a crazy path, but I want also encourage all the people. I have a lot of friends who never had kids or decided they don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
It's a much better path to have kids than not, as hard as it is.
Unless it's not your path.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true.
Right? We don't know.
I think more and more people are choosing not.
Yeah, my son would love another child. I'm like, a girlfriend first would be awesome. But he already talks about having another child. And my girls, no desire to have children.
Oh, really?
Fascinating. I'm like,
interesting.
Yeah, they think the world is just not a great place to bring kids up in now.
I hear that's what my friends say.
No interest in that.
But the world right before World War I or World War II, were those good worlds to bring kids up in? I mean, those were pretty awful.
Well, and I remind my kids, bless your heart, you never have to do that. Please don't have a child so I can have a grandchild. I'm not that mom. But you also don't have context of what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't know that some people would argue the gangs in New York in the 70s was the worst time to live. People that were in Vietnam might say that was the worst time to live.
Mm-hmm. You can point at any point, and depending on where you were at,
you guys
was a horrible time to live.
COVID was hard. You're not. As a matter of fact, you're not even old enough to remember 9/11.
Wow.
Like you.
Yeah.
So in all fairness, not to be dismissive, but they don't have context where those decisions have long-term ramifications to know if that's truth yet.
Yeah.
In part, and they're getting it
I
all
think
from
if
their
you watch too much
phone.
News, you're going to think we live in a horrible world.
You absolutely
got to
are.
turn that TV off.
Yeah.
Don't watch that stupid news box. That's just that's a hysteria machine. I've pointed out.
And it's designed to keep you in that
that's
fight
the
or flight.
only way they keep you glued is the constant hysteria. Yeah. The world is a terribly awful place, and if they preach that enough, kids are going to believe it.
That's right.
But we better wrap it up.
We better wrap it up.
I could talk to you for
there's a lot of conversation
about
to be had.
Caseworkers. Like we should have you back. But thanks so much, Celeste, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if people want to pick up your book,
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon.
All right.
And if you prefer Audible, you're welcome. I'm going to read that to you.
So Richard Paul Evans wrote your intro.
He's
you've worked with a lot of you still work with him all the time.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I look forward to reading it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and appreciate what you do.
And if anybody wants to help with our project out for Christmas Box, please go to the website, christmasbox.org. We'd love to have you volunteer, do a donation drive, whatever feels good to you.
Great. Yeah, do it. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you want to be a bigger part of the program, just hit the thumbs up button and visit utahstories.com. Subscribe to our free digital newsletter. And if you want to support our local journalism, you can check out the options there available as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.